You like to smoke cigarettes, Dad. You smoked a lot of cigarettes before I was born.
And a lot of them after you were born, too.
I didn't know about that.
God, Janie was just raised hell on me. She quit and I didn't.
What kind of cigarettes did you like to smoke?
I changed to a lot of different brands. What was it I used to like to smoke? I smoked before they had big time filter cigarettes, so I liked the ones that were on the shelf then that were just regular cigarettes. Pall Mall was one.
Those are pretty tough cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah, they were. Are.
That wake you up.
And I'd go in the backyard and sneak cigarettes.
Some things don't change too much. I've been known to sneak out and take a plug of snuff in my cheek, and nobody has to know about that.
No, they don't. Gee whiz. I guess you're remembering how those cigarettes smelled, I guess. I can't remember when I quit, though. Must have been, you were old enough to know the difference, I guess.
Well, as I recall, I was about 10 or 11 years old, and you and Mom got in a fight, I think, about you were smoking cigarettes because somebody thought it would be a good idea for you to confess your cigarette smoking habit to the boys. So I got called into the dining room thinking I did something big time wrong, and you said, Richard, you said, Aaron, I need you to sit down and we need to have a talk. And I was fiddling in my chair thinking that I had done something that I wasn't supposed to, when you came out and said, well, I talked to your mom and she thinks I need to go ahead and tell you that I smoke cigarettes. And I said, oh, all right. And I said something along the lines. I said, well, are you gonna quit? And I think you said something like, yeah, I'd like to.
Evasive.
And then the next day, I remember we were driving up to soccer practice you roll down and crack your window, and you figure you might as well have a smoke now that it's out in the air about it. Whereas I think Mom thought she was going to shame you into quitting smoking. I remember I was a little bit shocked because you were smoking cigarettes. And that carried on for a while. And then I think Mom must have found out you were smoking cigarettes in the car or something. And I think you went back underground again with them.
I think that's what I did too. I was supposed to be quitting, but didn't. I'd go across the street and smoke in Mr. Callahan's garbage can.
Mr. Callahan probably be out there with you drinking beers or scotch. He was a whiskey drinker. No, what was he, a gin drinker?
I should remember, but I don't.
You and Jim James were big time boozers. And Mr. Callahan was too. But Mom never complained about you drinking alcohol until she quit drinking too.
Yeah, and she can't quit for me. I have to quit. Did you know Mr. Callahan died?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know whether you did or not.
he used to sneak me Coca-Colas because Mom wouldn't give us any sugar drinks.
That's right, and he'd have a cooler in his trunk.
He did. And Chris Mitchell would come over and knock on the door and say, "Hey, you want to go out and play?" And we'd get outside, and he'd say, "Let's go to Mr. Callahan's house." I was like, "All right." So we'd go over there and drink a Coca-Cola and go riding our bikes up at the trails. And then later on that afternoon, we'd go back down across the street to the Larsons. And the Larsons would give us candy bars. And we'd eat candy bars. And sometimes we'd even ride our bikes up to the short stop where, what they called the short stop. We called the short stop. I don't think they called themselves. Maybe they did. But we'd buy candy up there. And you can't keep kids away from sweets.
No, you can't.
Just like it's hard to keep a husband away from tobacco.
I think he might have traveled all the way far up to the fork in the roads, but I don't know whether you did or not. Where there was a 7-Eleven type store that was open all the time. That store's still open.
Yeah, we occasionally went up that far. There were a couple of places. There was another place that was a little bit closer by bicycle, although it seemed like it took all day to get down there, and it probably did because we were so slow, pedaling, and there were so many hills in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
It was an all-day excursion.
There wasn't much traffic on those roads, though.
No, there wasn't. There weren't any cars back then. I mean, once you got up on the busy roads, you had to be a little careful. But even back then, people drove the roads pretty slow, and if they saw you, they'd slow down. Today, they don't slow down any.
No, that's a highway out there. I mean, now.
You remember the Saluda Shoals? All that land up there,
yeah,
next to the river,
where you go fishing now.
Where you got to pay to go fishing now.
Pay to go fishing.
I made peace with the fact that they built a park up there. They're doing a good job up there. It couldn't have stayed the way it was because of the population. They would have had liability problems. A lot of kids went up there and got themselves into trouble. A lot of people drown up there. But that probably hadn't changed. The liability has.
I vaguely remember some of that coming into newspaper print.